Well, hello everyone. This is Al Fadi, and I want to thank you, of course, for joining us at this special live stream. I want to welcome, of course, those of you who are in Europe and in Southeast Asia. I found out that this time is very convenient to many of you, so I am thankful that things will work out for you. And at the same time, we want to always accommodate different time zones. So you will see me doing shows periodically at different times simply because I want to be relevant to all of you globally. And the good news is people can always go back and watch these shows. Of course, today the intent is to have Apostate Prophet with me to talk about Islamic misunderstanding concerning the Ten Commandments. I am just waiting for our guest to join us here. But in the meantime, I just want to take the time to, of course, do some quick updates for all of you. First of all, of course, thank you for all of the love messages and prayers that I received from you about my health. I will be having a second surgery that will take place in about 2 weeks from now. And then at the same time, I just want to, remind all of you that we would love for you to always share our videos with others, if as much as possible. And you have our permission as well to do subtitles and translate them into other languages. You're welcome to reach out to me, of course, through my website, sirainternational.com, if you need my written permission. But we're always encouraged to see that many of you are excited about doing things like this. And finally, just an announcement that if everything goes well, David Wood will be with me next week here in a live stream and next month in studio. So be praying for that, that technology will work out and everything else will go smoothly. Well, I'm excited to say that our guest is here with us. AP, how are you, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I just wanted to take the time to just give quick updates for people, and I knew you were probably setting up things, so thank you for your flexibility.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thanks for inviting me again. I'm very happy to be here. How are you doing?
It's a privilege, my friend. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, which is, and when it comes down to it, we are aiming at the same target, and we pray, of course, for our Muslim friends to, including you, come into Christ. So that's our prayer. With that in mind, my friend, you chose a topic that is really dear to me, and that's the Ten Commandments. Of course, from the biblical standpoint, the Ten Commandments are a big deal, and obviously, God Himself spoke those Ten Commandments in the book of Exodus, Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 to 17. But even in Exodus 19, the people encounter God. They heard the voice of God, and Moses and the elders were at the mountain, but everybody else was consecrated for 3 days around the mountain, and they were asked not to touch it, because if that's the case, they will be, vaporized, if you wish, because of sin. But all that to say is that when it comes to the other prophets throughout the Bible, they're always pointed back to the law that included the Ten Commandments. And then Muhammad showed up to the scene and he violated every single one of them. And that's why this alone will discredit Muhammad as a prophet sent by Yahweh, the God of the Bible. With that in mind, I want to now turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, just give me 1 second. I forgot to shut my door. There's noise coming from the background.
Yes, no problem. No problem. You do what you have to do. So everyone, this is the topic. It's the Ten Commandments, and I'm going to try to take a different angle. I'll bring the biblical perspective of that, and AP is going to bring his own perspective on these Ten Commandments. By the way, if you haven't watched our most recent series that we recorded with AP, please go back and watch it. We've done a number of them, one on Mary and one on the Kaaba, and so on and so forth. So I think you will enjoy those.
All right, I'm back. I just have one issue, which is I kind of thought that I have a presentation ready for the Ten Commandments topic. I don't know. I meanwhile, I think after I worked on that, I changed computers and didn't move everything over, so I don't seem to find that. But I'm very sorry. I will try my best to.
No problem. I mean, we'll interact about it. No big deal.
So when it comes to the Ten Commandments, I made a video about this before, and I talked about this before as well on different live streams. But So the Ten Commandments obviously is something is a collection of commandments that is that is fundamental in biblical tradition and belief and law. It is at the core of biblical morals given to Moses, found in the Bible. There are different expressions of the Ten Commandments found in the Bible. People count them differently, refer to them differently, but people who follow the biblical Abrahamic beliefs generally agree that the Ten Commandments exist and that they can be listed. Now, growing up as a Muslim, you learn that that God, or that Allah in Islam, communicated with Moses on the Mount Sinai, or in some mount, and that Allah, in that case in Islam, gave him the tablets, and on them were things. Or on them were rules or commandments or something. You are never exactly told what was on them from the sources themselves. If you look at the Quran never specifies what exactly was given to Moses. In fact, the Quran makes a very vague statement about those things that were given to Moses. In the Bible, for example, it says, "I will give you the stone tablets with the law and the commandments, which I have written for their instruction," and then the commandments are listed. In the Quran, however, we find in Quran chapter 7, verse 145, it says, "And we wrote for him on the tablets something of all things, instructions and explanation for all things, saying, take them with determination and order your people to take the best of it. I will show you the home of the defiantly disobedient." That's all the Quran really says about what was given to Moses on that day. All things, something of all things. I previously joked about this and said this is something that my 4-year-old child says when we go to the store. He newly, learns to, understand the world and things. Why don't we just buy everything? Why don't we just buy all things? And I remember him asking me that. So I was like, let's just buy all things. And so that kind of reminds me of what the Quran says here. Yeah. Allah just gave all things to Moses, but what things? What is this?
Yeah, Allah of the Quran is never precise. He's generic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of going through my video here, but I can basically share the thing to have to show what I am looking at here on my part.
Sure. Okay, I will. There it is. People can see it now.
So I said I made a video about this, the video presentation. I'm basically looking at that again just for quick reference, because I ordered things specifically in that video to look at them. So here in Quran chapter 7, verse 145, it says, "And we wrote for him on the tablets something of all things, instruction and explanation for all things. Take them with determination and order your people to take the best of it." The best of it. "I will show you the home of the defiantly disobedient." In the Bible, for example, it tells us the story quite clearly, because I'll give you the stone tablets with the law and the commandments which I have written for their instruction. And it then further, of course, goes into details, and that's me, goes into detail and explains what those commandments exactly are. So yeah, the Quran says basically all things. The actual story is that the tablets that were given to Moses contain the commandments, and the Quran says it contains all things. And the Quran also says that in those in the inscriptions of the tablets, there was guidance and mercy for those who are fearful of their Lord. But that is, again, basically all that the Quran says here. It never goes further into describing what was actually given to the people. And we are talking about something that is so essential and so fundamental to the Abrahamic belief and to biblical tradition in general. Now, if we look at the history of how the Ten Commandments were perceived in Abrahamic religion, there is a little bit of a disagreement on how exactly they are listed and how exactly they are numbered. I kind of broke it down, looking at the different sections of the Bible, and listed the Ten Commandments here as follows. I numbered them here and also gave the alternative numbering, but they basically say, "I am the Lord your God." In the written Hebrew, for of course, before it was replaced with Adonai in Hebrew, or the Lord in English, for example, or in other languages, it says, "I am Yahweh your God. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make idols. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, house, possession, etc." Now, there's one thing that people often point out when we talk about this, like David Wood, for example. When we had a conversation together, he was very eager to point out that Islam doesn't respect these 10 commandments. On the contrary, Muhammad himself directly violated these commandments to a great extent. Go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to just say something, and I'm glad you did that, because it's a good segue here. Because when you look at these commandments, and I agree with you, there is a disagreement, of course, sometimes on how many even commandments when it comes to the language itself of the Hebrew. Some will say there's about 14, because number 10 contains a multiple commandments in it. But all that to say is that sometimes it's broken down into two groups, and that's the most common: 4 and 6, or at least 5 and 5, with number 5 being the transition between the two, honoring your father and mother. God is the creator. Father and mother are progenitors, their connection between the immortal and the mortal, and so on and so forth. But Jesus summarized all of this beautifully. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength. And basically that's the first 4, the relationship with God, the vertical relationship. And the last 6 is relationship horizontally, relationship with man, loving your neighbor as yourself. So here alone, you learn a ton of things, by the way, from this in the Bible. Yet in the Quran missed out on something that important, actually.
Exactly. Well, thanks for pointing that out. So, as said, there's only a difference in as I also try to point out, there's only a difference in how to list these commandments. But people agree that these are the commandments, and they are again reviewed and relisted, and they are universally known. In Islam, they are not known at all. In Islam, there is no listing of these commandments. Nobody knows what the commandments are. If you ask the Muslim community, if you go to religious Muslim teachers and Muslim believers and ask them to list the 10 commandments, what are they supposed to look at, and what are they supposed to give you as a source? They might be able to list these rules here, these commandments, and if you ask them for a source for these commandments, they will have to go back to the Bible. They will have to go back to the Bible and say, well, we know the 10 commandments because they are, but we have to look at the Bible for them. We can only, parrot them from the Bible. But the funny thing about this is that Muslims are not supposed to read the Bible according to Muhammad's teachings. They are not supposed to believe in the Bible. They're supposed to, when Christians and Jews approach them and tell them certain things about the Bible, according to Muhammad's suggestion, according to Muhammad's recommendation or commands, they're supposed to say, "I neither believe nor disbelieve in what you say," because Muhammad tried to appropriate the Christian and Jewish beliefs, and halfway through realized that a lot of the things that Jews and Christians say are not really in his best interest, because they really reveal him to be a liar or a fraud or whatever it is. So his best response to that was, when the Christians and Jews tell you something, neither believe nor disbelieve in it. Just leave it to me. And then he brings the best revelations of Allah, of course, and invalidates everything that the Christians and Jews say, which he does not like. But we are left with this. The 10 Commandments are not listed in the Quran. They are not found in any Islamic source. They are only found in the Bible, which Muslims today claim is corrupted, or was corrupted by Christians and Jews in the past. Yeah, what happens in the Quran is the Quran tries to list different commandments or tries to list different rules, and Muslims generally try to go to those to those rules in the Quran and try to say the Quran reviews or lists those rules loosely in different parts, and they try to appeal to different Quran verses and say, look, these Quran verses actually mention these commandments, so they try to make up for the lack of the Ten Commandments in the Quran. So they bring forth certain Quran verses, but the Quran verses, the Quran does not contain a the Ten Commandments as we find them in the Quran. It is simply not found there. The Quran has different commandments, as different lists of rules. For example, one that is that people often refer to is one that says, "Do not associate anything with Allah." Treat your parents well. Do not kill your children. This is apparently in reference to people in pre-Islamic times committing, infanticide when they cannot take care of their children, which is one thing that Islam has some big propaganda on, and which is not really historically verifiable. Do not approach immoralities, which is just very vague. It's not really a commandment. Do not kill the soul, which Allah has forbidden, which is also, again, very vague in this regard. The soul which Allah has not forbidden. So it doesn't say do not murder, for example. Like in the Ten Commandments, what is perceived as do not kill is actually do not murder. In the Quran, it simply says do not kill the soul which Allah has forbidden, but that could be anything. People twist that within the Islamic community as they wish. Do not approach the orphan's property. Give full measure and weight in justice. When you testify, be just, and the covenant of Allah fulfill, which is just a vague commandment again. So what you find as alternatives in the Quran do not agree with the Ten Commandments in the Bible, and the Quran also does not give any new account of them. Now, if we want to review these Ten Commandments and look at them again in the twisted light of Islam, we have to say there are just so many problems with them, aren't there? And if you just come to the very beginning, which might be considered the first commandment or simply the introduction to the commandments, I am the Lord your God. It already begins with what I have pointed out before quite often. I really have a big problem with this. It already begins with I am Yahweh, or the four letters Yod Ha Weh Ha, the Tetragrammaton. I am Yahweh your God. That is his name according to the Quran. According to the Bible, which is basically hidden out of respect or out of fear by Jews, and then continued into the Christian tradition that way by saying Lord or Adonai, our Lord, instead. And if you ask Muslims what the name of their God is, they will say it's Allah. They will not recognize Yahweh, because Yahweh doesn't exist in Islam, although the Islamic God, if appropriated from Christianity and Judaism, is supposed to be named Yahweh. That is simply the name. There is no way out of this. And we also did a long presentation about this before. I made a video about this before, and how Allah gets his name wrong. So it already begins with something that Islam is completely unfamiliar with: Yahweh. Who is Yahweh? I made a video about this called How Allah Got His Name Wrong, in which I explained this in much detail, and we also went through that together right here on your channel. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Islam doesn't have any such rules. It never addresses anything like that. On the contrary, Muslims are quite liberal in how much they use the name of God. The name of their God, of Allah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even when I accepted Christ, I retained that habit of swearing the whole time until people took me aside and said, listen, do not take the name of God in vain. And it dawned on me. I realized what that meant. But, it's absolutely, you're right. It's a habit, and you grow up basically hearing it all the time. And I hate to say this also, AP, that sometimes when a Muslim are swearing using the name of Allah, it's almost like they're telling you, I'm not going to do it anyway. You don't take it seriously,
Yeah. You know, because it's common usage. It has been like that forever in Muslim culture and at the beginning of Islam. But you hear it all the time. And I even remember what's very funny. I even remember a discussion in a religious gathering that I was part of when I was still a young teenager. I remember how I was sitting there with older people who were all religious Muslims in our community, and we had some people who just who just started taking their religious seriously and who joined our community, and they said something like, "We Muslims often just say Allah whenever we are angry, we are happy, we are sad, when we curse, and whatever it is, we just say Allah whenever." But doesn't the Bible? I mean, don't the Christians and Jews believe that we should not do that? And then the response from my religious elders was that this is a commandment which we are not given in the Quran. This is something that they believe in, and we can neither, confirm nor reject what the Christians and Jews say and what their corrupted Bible says. Which is why this is not applicable to us. We should simply do our best to be respectful and reasonable. But again, when Muslims are angry, they say Allah, Allah, or Allahu Akbar, whatever it is. They just they combine Allah, the name of Allah, with quite inappropriate things when they are angry or when they are happy and whatever it is. So there is no such rule, no such moral code in Islam at all. I pointed out before that I think the only things that the Quran has in common, or that Islam has in common with the Ten Commandments, are you shall have no other gods before me, and you shall not make idols, and that only by name, only by words. So this is what Islam actually, what Islam seems to, agree on. You shall have no other gods before me, and you shall make no idols. The Quran is very big on Allah is the only one. Don't believe anything else, or don't believe that Jesus is God. Don't believe that this is God. Don't believe that Allah can have a son, and don't respect those idols, or else destroy them wherever you find them, and so on. So this is the only thing that Islam is big on. But ironically, as many of us might know, Islam also really Islam also has a lot of polytheistic pagan aspects, which it simply adopted from pre-Islamic polytheism, and thereby it breaks its own rules by taking the Kaaba, which is essentially a pagan element, and making it the foundation of its own religion, and even engaging in the reverence or almost worship of the black stone, which is at the corner of the Kaaba. That is an idolatrous practice, which the pre-Islamic polytheists used to do for their polytheistic religion. So Islam breaks its own rules very much. Okay, let's get back to the list of the commandments to look at them once more. Now, I am the Lord your God is not respected. You shall have no other gods before me. Islam explicitly agrees with this, but doesn't really keep it. You shall not make idols. Islam explicitly agrees with this, but again, takes idolatrous practices from the pre-Islamic polytheists. So those are gone. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. Islam doesn't have any such thing. When it comes to the Sabbath day, this is very funny. Islam doesn't care about any such thing as the Sabbath day. Islam only mentions the Sabbath in relation to the Jews, and says that the Sabbath was only appointed for those who differed over it. It says so in the Quran, in Quran chapter 16, verse 124. Yeah. And this is a verse or a statement that has caused a lot of disagreement within Muslim history, within Muslim scholarship, on what exactly this is in reference to, and what exactly the implications of this are. But the implications seem to be that the Sabbath was kind of imposed, or made as a strict rule in response to people simply not following God's rules properly, which is why Allah imposed certain strict rulings upon them, which is simply absurd and not really in alignment with the actual tradition of this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to just add to the Sabbath thing. The Sabbath is so important when it comes to the people of God that their punishment, being sent into exile, was because of violating the Sabbath. I mean, that's how important it was. Now, if Muhammad is claimed to be a prophet like Moses, then he failed miserably when it came to the Sabbath. Miserably. I mean, because he actually violated it and actually bringing doom on the people of God, if that's indeed what he's doing.
Exactly, exactly. And the problem with the Sabbath is, what is very funny is when you ask Muslims about the whole narrative of God creating, the world in 6 days and resting on the seventh day, and that basically corresponding to the Sabbath, and humans being told to observe a similar rule, which humans perceive as rather a symbolic thing, as a um, for humans to observe, because everybody agrees that God does not need to rest, right? God does not need to work for a specific time and then rest, but that this is the narrative, and this is an example, and humans are supposed to follow this, and they did follow this for quite a long time. Muslims usually, when asked about that whole narrative, say, no, that cannot be true. Allah doesn't need to work on specific days. It doesn't need to rest. Allah is above and beyond that. Ironically, the Quran agrees that Allah created the world in several days, and it says, "Who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then established Himself above the throne." So. What is very funny about this is that Muslims do not agree that God rests on the seventh day, and they say resting, that is completely beneath Allah. Allah doesn't need such a thing, and they do not that they fail to grasp this the symbolic example within that. But at the same time, they do believe that Allah created the earth and the heaven in 6 days or 4 days. The Quran is kind of vague about this, and that he then, after creating everything, ascended and established himself above the throne. He basically went above and sat on his throne. So if the whole symbolic aspect of God resting on the seventh day to make an example for humans is so absurd, then how exactly is it acceptable to say Allah created the world in 6 days and then went and established himself above the throne? Shouldn't you also, with the same with the same rejection, also banish that from your narrative? But no, Muslims simply accept that because it is in the Quran. Somehow it has to make sense. But yeah, the Sabbath is not part of Islamic tradition at all. What Muslims have instead of that is the Friday. On Friday, for no good reason established within biblical traditions, Muslims are supposed to go to the Friday prayer, and then stop working, go to the Friday prayer, and then go out and earn again and do works again and whatever it is. But they do not really have a day of rest. No such thing exists.
Well, AP, even with that, I would argue that given that the Quran was initially written without diacritical markings or any vowel markings in there and dottings, one can make the argument that it could be read Jam'ah versus Jum'ah. And even if it was Jum'ah, it's a day of assembly. So I want a Muslim to tell me that day of assembly happened to be Friday. They can go ahead and tell me, where does it say that?
Yeah, that is a good point. It only says it only refers to it as a day of assembly. That's all it is. That is true. That's a good point to make. Give me 1 second. Okay. So moving on. The Ten Commandments go, honor your father and your mother. You could say that Islam teaches you to be good to your parents, to be nice to them. It happens to have a certain agreement with them, but we also know that the Quran says that in chapter 9 specifically, it condemns your relationship with your siblings and your family if they have preferred disbelief over belief. It says, do not take them as friends, and it repeatedly says whoever takes them as friends is one of them. So there is a big condemnation of that as well found within the Quran. But you could say that on the surface, this is actually one thing that the Quran seemingly on the surface agrees on. Now, when it comes to the next one, you shall not murder within the Ten Commandments, fine, Islam will say, or the Quran will say that you shall not unjustly, kill somebody, or you should not unjustly kill somebody. But then again, what is unjustly? Does Islam agree with the biblical aspect? Does Islam agree with the Christian tradition or the Jewish tradition? We know, for example, that Islam continues to hold certain very strict laws. Islam continues to have the laws of killing those who leave the religion and who openly declare that they have left the religion. Islam says in chapter 9 verse 29 that you shall, those who do not accept Allah and Muhammad, and those who do not adopt the law from Islam, you should fight them and humiliate them until they pay the jizya. Muhammad himself commanded his Muslim armies to go and to invite the people to Islam, and if they reject it, to give them the options of becoming subjects and pay the jizya, to become slaves, or simply to die, if they refuse to convert. So Islam doesn't really have that same thing. Islam has an in-group rejection of murder, but that does not include, for example, non-Muslims. If a non-Muslim subject, a Christian or a Jew, for example, doesn't pay the jizya or offends the Muslims in a way, and you kill them, there is no retaliation for that. Somebody who fails to pay the jizya is basically a fair game in Islam, and can be killed, can be hunted down. A Muslim who kills a Jew or a Christian is not held to the same standards as somebody who kills a Muslim. And so on, and there's more to that. People who do not believe in a book, or in Christianity or Judaism or in Islam, according to the earliest Islamic traditions, are not protected at all. They can be killed. They are fair game. Atheists, polytheists, fire worshippers, as Muslims called them for a long time, all these people were simply killed or enslaved. Nobody cared about their safety at all, until Muslims later realized over with time that you cannot simply go on slaughtering masses of populations. You have to somehow make peace with the people that you conquer, in order to avoid having a downfall, a collapse of society. So they extended the whole the umbrella of the jizya and who it applies to, and started including people like Hindus or Zoroastrians as well, just for their own safety and protection.
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, the Ten Commandments alone has a background when it comes to being made in the image of God. And that's extremely important in the Bible, in Genesis 1:26-28. Yet the Quran not even once hinted to that. And when it comes to the hadith said that Adam was made in the image of God, and he was like, wow, 60 feet tall, I think, or something to that extent. Wow, I guess I did not realize that God is that tall. Wow, he could be a good basketball player, that's for sure.
There is one thing that I want to add. Well, some people point out that when it comes to the issue of killing or murder, the immediate followers and companions of Muhammad were quite comfortable killing people for offending Muhammad, or for not agreeing with certain practices. For example, we have records of people being threatened with death for refusing to pay the zakah, the compulsory charity in Islam, or for having a disagreement on that, for having theological disagreements. We have an issue of, I'm not exaggerating, we have an issue of Muhammad's close companion Omar asking Muhammad for permission to kill a child because they suspect the child of being the Dajjal, because the child disrespects Muhammad. And Omar basically goes, how dare you? How dare a child disrespect Muhammad? Please let me kill him. And Muhammad's objection to that is not, hey, no, we don't do that. It's not, hey, no, we don't kill children. It's not we don't kill people for simple things like these. No, his response to that is, don't do that, because if you kill him and he's not the Dajjal, then you will just have killed a random person, and if he is the Dajjal, then he will overpower you. That's his response. So his response is not, hey, that is not right. It's just you could get in trouble for that. That's it.
Amen. I want to highlight just a comment here by a sister by the name of Arabian Princess, and she wrote in Arabic, and she's obviously speaking to the Muslims here and saying, if you are calling on Allah to guide you to the straight path, as-sirat al-mustaqim, then Jesus is that straight path, because he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that's really true if you think about it. Muslims, if they are praying daily, they repeat this 17 times. And I'm puzzled by this. If Muhammad really came to guide him, then why did Muhammad himself pray it and ask Muslims to pray it if he wasn't so sure that he was guided already?
Yeah,
that's just $1 million question right there.
Muhammad himself was very, very puzzled about the things that he was doing, and I don't know. He was scared of clouds. He thought a cloud could be the end of the world, and that everything is going to be very terrible for him soon. He was not sure about his own position as the prophet of Allah. So that's that. I was quickly looking at bringing the source of that whole killing a child thing, but anyway, it's beyond the point. We can probably get back to that at some point. We can talk about that extensively as well. I think it's a fantastic topic to focus on a different video, to dedicate a conversation to that. Moving on, you shall not commit adultery is a rule that is quite significant in Abrahamic biblical tradition, is quite significant in Christianity, is understood in Christianity in a completely different sense than it is in Islam. In Christianity, you are told to a man and a woman, and to love one another, to not look at others, wives, to not look at other women with specific eyes and desires, and that is already an entrance to adultery and all that. Islam, of course, doesn't have such a concept. In Islam, we have the hijab for very specific reasons. The hijab is there so that Muslim women, initially it was married Muslim women, but so that Muslim women can be covered up, so that they can be hidden from the eyes of men out there, and not from any men, from the eyes of Muslim men. The hijab was initially introduced because Muhammad's companion Omar, the notorious guy, as always, he always pops up somewhere with troubled issues. He comes out and says to Muhammad repeatedly, hey, tell your wives to veil themselves. I recognize them when they go to the toilet, when they go out to the bathroom. I recognize them. We see them. They walk past us and we see their faces. Please tell them to cover themselves. So eventually Muhammad ends up and says, okay, I just received a revelation from Allah. Allah told the women to cover themselves. And then all the Muslim women follow this rule and they cover themselves up. And if you look at the interpretations of this by the early Muslim scholars, including Ibn Kathir, who is the biggest interpreter of the Quran, the most popular one, he says that the hijab is a rule imposed for Muslim women, for honorable Muslim women, to separate themselves from prostitutes and what does it say? Slaves and prostitutes and disbelievers, or something like that. I don't remember the exact wording. I don't want to misrepresent that, but that is basically the message that he gives, and that Islamic scholars give. So Muhammad makes a revelation because he's pressured into it by his friend Omar. He says, oh, okay, fine, I listen to you. Allah just sent me a revelation, cover them up. And this is only so that they can protect their own wives from the gazes of men, unlike the disbelievers and the prostitutes and the slaves, because Muslim men are not discouraged from looking at women. On the contrary, Muslim men are allowed to take up to 4 wives, to threaten them with divorce and to take new ones if they are not happy. They can do that. Muhammad himself was encouraged to do that in the Quran. And Muslims are also free to fight for Allah and to take an unlimited number of concubines from their opponents, from their enemies. That this includes when they fight a group of people, and this group of people and the men on the other side have wives, and the men are then defeated. Muslims are free to simply annul the marriages of the wives of those opponents and to simply take them as slaves and to have sex with them. And those slaves would then not have to wear the hijab. They could be just open and reveal all their beautiful aspects, so that the men can nicely look at them and have sex with them whenever they want. And then also, of course, Muslims are promised the whole virgins in heaven issue. So the whole, the thirst for more women out there is always induced and always promoted within the Islamic tradition. I know, tough topic, but that's Islam for you.
That's right. You gotta go where the evidence lead, I guess.
Yes. But of course, one thing that we can say, which Islam agrees on, is that if you happen to commit adultery and there are 4 witnesses, then you are supposed to be put to death. Yeah. So
I mean, just think about it for a second, AP, from a logical standpoint, from an evidentiary standpoint, from a legal standpoint. Who in the world is going to watch a rape and ask 3 others to come with him to watch it and then go and tell? I mean, seriously, is this how God protects women? Is this God's way of trying to at least inflict justice on rapists? I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's almost like watching a pornography. That's what Muhammad basically is enforcing here, technically speaking.
Yeah. How often will it happen that somebody commits adultery or that there is rape, and then there are 4 people present who happen to see that? I mean, it never happens. How often does that happen? It's just ridiculous. Or of course, the Muslims might say that's not the only requirement. It could also be that both sides under oath admit to that happened, or both sides agree that it happened, and it can then be established that it is indeed true. But is that really how the law works? Is that why laws are in existence? It's not, right? So we're moving on. You shall not steal is one thing, of course, that is, I would say, that the Quran agrees on. But again, what is the definition of stealing? I mean, the Quran seems to agree with that stealing is forbidden, but it also very much encourages to take from the opponents, from your enemies, whatever they have, in the name of fighting for Allah. I can say, in all honesty, I think internally within society, stealing in Islam is not allowed. You're not allowed to steal from fellow Muslims. You're not allowed to steal from disbelievers. You're not allowed to steal from anybody. Stealing is haram. It's forbidden. Completely agreed. But of course, we would have to then consider again that the fact that Islam also commands to fight the enemies of Islam, and Muhammad says, if you fight the enemies of Islam, then Allah uniquely gave me, of all the prophets, the right to take booty from the enemies, and that this is Allah's gift for us, the Muslims. So this is what Muhammad proudly declares in the Hadith, which is a very strange thing to be proud of. The bringer of mercy says, "Hey, our gift." Aside from all the prophets and all the biblical guys, our gift, Allah loves us so much that He enjoined us the right to fight the enemies of Islam and to take booty from them and to take all their belongings.
Yeah. And Muhammad basically applied the rule that Joseph actually applied during the famine year, and he instilled this idea that people will give 20% to Pharaoh. So Muhammad thought maybe he was a Pharaoh of his days, and he just wanted to do exactly what happened. Even that was an exceptional rule for a certain condition, but it just shows that he was copying and pasting and learning things and just applying them to himself as he went.
Yep, exactly. There was one thing more that I wanted to add about this, but I think we should be fine. I think that's all right. The next one is, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Of course, now this is this merely about bearing false witness, what does that mean? Does it include all kinds of lying? Does it include does it mean that you should not go in front of a court and lie about your neighbor? Does it what does it include? It's about dishonesty. It's about lying. It's about telling the truth instead, and not committing this dishonesty in society among your brethren. The issue is Islam does not have the fundamental concept which you can find in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible, which is about loving your neighbor as yourself and treating the foreigners, the non-Jews or non-Christians, well and equally, and to not be unjust with them. Islam doesn't have such a thing. Islam has justice and equality among the Muslims, not among the others. If you lie to the enemies of Islam and deceive them, that is okay in the name of waging war against the enemies of Islam, fighting the enemies of Islam. We have records of Muhammad asking his people to kill a certain poet named Ka'b bin Ashraf. Was it him? Right, I think it's him, who writes poetry against Muhammad and his people, and basically says, how can you allow him to corrupt our people and to kill our people and all that. And he basically mocks Muhammad in his poetry, and Muhammad asks his loyal followers to go and kill him. And one of his followers then says, I can go and assassinate him, I can go kill him, but I would have to, I would probably have to deceive and lie to him, to get him out and kill him. And Muhammad is fine with that. He simply, he's okay with that. And the Muslims go ahead and trick him and kill him. So that's how that goes. Deception is all right within society. There is no discouraging of being dishonest. There is no such thing. You do not have to speak the full truth. You can conceal the truth. You can conceal the facts if it is in favor of Islam, if it is in favor of the Islamic society, if it is in favor of Allah and Muhammad. There is not a complete rejection, categorical rejection of dishonesty. That said, you are not supposed to lie to your fellow Muslims, and you are supposed to uphold your agreements or your contracts that you make with people. Although Muhammad, for example, had the right to break certain agreements if it was if it was in his best interest or the best interest of the Muslim society or the Muslim community.
Amen.
Did you want to say something? Or?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I mean, keep going, my friend.
And finally, to the final point, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, house, possession, etc. So it's very general, either listed as one commandment or as two commandments based on which understanding exactly you look at. But you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, and then you shall not covet your your neighbor's house and possessions and this and that. Of course, the Quran again seemingly agrees that you're not supposed to hunger for your fellow Muslim's wife and your fellow Muslim's possessions and all that. You're not supposed to do that because that will bring corruption. But again, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. I mean, what Islam does is not to tell you, hey, let live, don't look with bad eyes to the wives of your neighbors. It says, no, cover up the wives of the honorable Muslims in order to protect them from our eyes which want to look at people's wives. And it forbids people from talking about the physical appearances and the features and qualities of their wives to others, whereas it is completely fine with desiring women outside of the wives of Muslims, and it's completely fine with desiring the wives of the disbelievers, with the wives of the enemies of Islam, desiring the wives of or the women of other populations that reject Islam, in case you might fight them and just simply take their wives as your own belongings. So your neighbor's wives here would only include your fellow Muslim neighbor's wives. It would only include your fellow Muslims' houses and your fellow Muslims' possessions, as long as they are proper Muslims and as long as they follow the commands of Allah. But outside of that, of course, there is no such thing as that coveting people's wives and houses and possessions is forbidden. No, it's entirely fine if we are talking about people who do not follow the true path of Islam. So, so much to say about that last commandment, which is a commandment that is in place as a commandment that is supposed to establish stability within a society. You cannot establish stability within society and coexist if you do not have such a rule, which includes the disbelievers, the non-Muslims in a society. Islam is not meant to coexist with others. Islam is to dominate others, supposed to dominate others. And within Islam, you are completely fine desiring the women and the homes and the possessions of the others, those who are not Muslims. So insofar, Islam is certainly not in agreement with these things. Neighbor in the biblical tradition is not simply a reference to Christians and Jews and fellow believers. In the Bible, you will find that it includes those who are not among your people. The Bible repeatedly states that you should not treat them differently. You should not treat them with hate. You should not cast them out. You yourselves were persecuted once. You know how it is what the Bible says. Is what the Bible says to the Jews, to the Israelites back then. And the Quran does not have such a message. The Quran does not protect the same mentality, does not protect the same agreements. It does not send the same message to humankind. The Quran does not send a message of loving your neighbor as yourself. It does not send a message of treating others as you want to be treated. It does not give the Ten Commandments. It merely adopts or more accurately appropriates Christian and Jewish ideas from the Bible, but then again knows nothing about them, misrepresents them, misinterprets them, and fails to reflect them correctly. As said, all of these commandments that we have in front of us, we merely look them up from the Bible. We do not find them in the Quran. The Bible tells us about them. The Quran doesn't. The Bible tells us the story of Moses and how God talks to Moses. The Quran tries to tell us the story, but fails to tell us what exactly happened and why it was so significant. Can you imagine? The Quran comes as a book by its own claims and by the claims of Muslims and Muhammad. It comes as a book in order to bring a final message, the corrected message of Allah, which Allah prepared from pre-existing times, from eternity, from pre-eternity. Allah created this book, or sorry, if you go by certain Islamic theology, the Quran was not created. The Quran always existed. It is the eternal speech of Allah. It was always there. And the Quran sent to humanity is merely a mirror image, merely a reflection, a representation of the Quran that has always existed. This is supposed to be the ultimate truth sent down in Muhammad's time to correct everything that was corrupted in the past. But it does not contain these fundamental laws that God so importantly sent to humankind in the past, which even the Quran seemingly agrees on. It seemingly agrees that this is the foundation of belief, but it doesn't even bother to tell us what exactly happened and what exactly God communicated to people. Isn't that kind of funny?
I know. Well said. And any other thoughts you want to add? Because I want to close basically by reminding people. And if you want to bring that slide again, just for the purpose of just sharing a few thoughts here with people, if you don't mind, of course.
Of course. Go ahead.
So I'm going to show it again. I just want people to look at this, and especially my Muslim friends, if you're looking at this. First of all, Muhammad himself broke every single one of those. Every single one of those. He did not acknowledge Yahweh. That's the first. He actually placed himself next to Allah in the Shahada. That's shirk, my friend. That's idolatry. Yep. He actually instilled the worship of rocks, bowing to a rock, touching a rock, kissing a rock, throwing rocks at a rock, and the list can go on and on and on. And then when it came to the Sabbath day, I challenge you to show me where did Muhammad ever honored the Sabbath that God instilled basically and instituted. If the idea of honoring your father and mother is something that, and I agree, Islam always emphasized, Muhammad asked people to go and fight and kill their parents because they did not follow him. So how is that honoring father and mother? And then you come to murder. You've heard, AP mentioning about just the mere fact of killing any murtad. And by the way, anyone can do it. Okay, anyone can do it. In fact, you should really watch, a video that was done by Ali Dawa about this. Speaking of that, of course, we're going to ask you a few questions about the most recent encounter with Ali Dawa. And then you have the adultery. Well, Muhammad instilled the idea that you can take anybody's wife during a battle, even if she's married, and you can sleep with her. That's adultery right there. And stealing people's property and deception to do whatever it takes, technically speaking, that is favorable to him. And finally, Muhammad coveted not only his neighbor's wife, his adopted son's wife. So there you have it. And yet you're telling me this is, a man that was made to be a model for mankind? Wow. If this is the model for mankind, I guess I am definitely much better than him, and you should follow me. And AP also. And David Wood.
Even me. But that's actually a very good point. I completely forgot to mention that. But according to the Quran itself, Muhammad desired his adopted son's wife, while his adopted son was still married to her. So according to the Quran itself says, Muhammad goes and sees her in an appropriate situation, according to the biographies, and then it seemingly looks like Muhammad desires her. So his adopted son comes to him, Zayd comes to him and says, "Hey, do you want my wife?" And he's like, "No, keep your wife." And then the Quran then makes a revelation, and of course we all know the Quran is not actually a revelation from Allah. It's actually Muhammad himself making things up. Of course, on the surface, he wants to be reasonable and says, "No, keep your wife." But then he makes a revelation, and the revelation says clearly that Muhammad himself had in his heart the desire for the wife of his adopted son. So the Quran itself admits that Muhammad was actually coveting the wife of his adopted son, who also was his cousin, by the way. So it is really a very interesting point, showing that Muhammad himself, the ultimate prophet, the ultimate moral guide for all humankind, was not keeping this very simple commandment of stability, And another point that you mentioned, which is a good point, is about killing apostates. Again, Muslims will often argue that killing apostates is something that will be done lawfully within an Islamic society by the by the Islamic authorities. True, normally it is supposed to be done that way. It is supposed to be done in such a way that an Islamic state is established, and then an Islamic ruler or an Islamic court then judges apostates and, of course, puts them to death under different conditions. But the issue is, according to agreed Islamic law, according to the 4 schools of law, according to the schools of law and the classical books of Islamic law in general, if somebody is a blasphemer, or if somebody is openly an apostate, and somebody from among the Muslims goes and kills that person, that is not a major crime. It's not a major sin. It is merely a what do you call it? A misdemeanor. It is merely an inappropriate act, and the judge can choose to punish that person or not, or simply to say, "Hey, you shouldn't have done that." And the punishment, if a punishment is given, it shouldn't go above a certain amount of minimum punishments that you normally give for crimes or for immoral behavior. So killing an apostate within a society is just you shouldn't do that. You should leave it to the judge. It's not like a crime or anything.
Absolutely. I mean, even a murder, as you know, under Sharia law is not a capital crime, because you can still offer blood money to the family of the deceased, and if they would accept it, you're home free. I mean, that's it. It's over. So it shows that there is no regard to mankind and humanity, and in this case, no respect for the marriage relationship. And my goodness, this is your adopted son's wife. I mean, out of all people, I mean, it's almost like if I want to run for the office of the prophet to replace Muhammad, this will be one of my campaign, promises. You can keep your wife. I promise you that.
It's really a strange thing to imagine, right? I mean, imagine yourself. You adopt a son, and at some point in your life, that son becomes ready to marry, and you marry that adopted son with a very beautiful woman that he desires, and then they are married, and you occasionally go to visit them, and you're like, oh, I really wish that was my wife. I really wish I could just take her. And then and then that somehow comes out, and your adopted son is like, okay, you know what, I will just let her go, you can have her. And you're like, no, I don't really want that. But then you reveal in the end, or Allah reveals for you, that you desired your adopted son's wife all along, which is just, that's the perfect moral example for all humankind. So, I mean, if a regular person has such desires, I would be like, okay, that's kind of messed up. But we're talking about the perfect moral guide for all humankind. Isn't he supposed to have some proper example of feeling and acting and conduct and whatever it is? Apparently, he doesn't.
Oh, man. Okay, so two quick things. First of all, tell us about your recent, I guess, I don't know how to call it, debate, dialogue with Ali Dawah. How did that go?
It was fantastic, if you ask me. Well, what happened is that Ali Dawah challenged me to a debate very long ago. And his whole understanding of a debate long ago was come to London, come to my park, I will smash you and stuff like that. And I said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to do that. If you want a proper debate, set up a proper debate. I'm not going to come to your park. So it stayed like that for a while, but then recently he was acting all tough to Douglas Murray on Twitter, and then I responded to him saying, "Why are you doing this again? You will just, if he happened to accept a debate with you, you would simply make up tons of excuses and run away. Stop acting all tough." And then he was like, "Oh, how about you? How about you debate me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead. If you want to set up a debate, I'm ready here. Moderator online." Of course, he bent the rules so much. He forced me to. He basically tried to force me to accept a face-to-face debate. I said, "If you want face-to-face, we can do it in America. Come here, travel here." He agreed to that. In the last moment, he said, "Oh, I just noticed I can't come to America because I don't have the vaccine, and America demands a vaccine from me. So now you have to come to Mexico." And I said, Are you kidding me, man? Was it my condition to do this face to face? Why would I have to go to Mexico now? This is your fault. You offered this, you agreed to this. If you can't come to America because you don't take the vaccine, that's not my fault. It's your own problem, So in the end, I said, let's just do it online and get it done with. He rejected, and then he challenged me to a curse event, a mubahala, which is something found in Islamic tradition. Muhammad did it too, where Muhammad, according to the Quran, tells the Christians of Najran, which is further explained in the Hadith, to come out and to say, let's bring our families and ask Allah to curse the one who lies about their own religion. And then he actually goes and brings his grandchildren and his family members out there to ask Allah for a curse. And the Christians are then, according to the report, the Christians are then so amazed by this that they, concede and decide not to do this. But I mean, you can clearly see the thing here. The Christians probably think that's kind of messed up, We're not going to do that.
Exactly.
So that's what he challenged me to, and his claim was that I'm actually scared of Allah, and that I know that Allah is true secretly, and that I'm scared to invoke Allah's curse. And I said from the very beginning, this is ridiculous. I don't believe in Allah, and I am happy to come on there and to ask Allah for a curse. It's no problem for me at all, but it's just ridiculous. It just shows how ridiculous you think. And as we went live, I also asked him to give me to answer 5 of my questions, and he agreed to that. When we went live, I did invoke the curse of Allah to destroy me within 10 seconds. It didn't happen. What he did then was, you fell into my trap because you are an atheist. You don't believe in Allah. So how can you ask Allah for a curse if you don't even believe in Allah? Isn't a prayer to Allah, an invocation, actually an act of worship? But you can't worship because you don't believe in him. You are so ignorant, so stupid. And from there, it just all descended into the same stupidity for 2 hours, and him trying to make arguments and not being able to make arguments, being completely incoherent and disrespectful, eating grapes while we are talking as a supposed power play, which then just looked ridiculous. His fellow Muslims felt embarrassed by him. Many Muslims made videos condemning his behavior and his very poor knowledge and performance. Even Shamsi, who is a Muslim apologist, said in a video to Ali Dawa, said, "Brother, with all due respect, you think you are smarter than him. You are not. It has to be said. We have to be honest to each other. Please stop representing Islam. Please stop doing this." Many others made videos about him, and it's just. I'm happy with the results. I mean, I was hoping for a debate where we can actually go through Islamic arguments and refute them and all that. He didn't want to do that because he doesn't trust his Islamic faith very much. He chose to do this instead, and it badly, terribly exploded in the face of Islamic apologetics.
Yeah. Unfortunately. And I'm sorry to drag you there, but I just wanted people to notice it. Me and David Wood, we're going to be talking, by the way, folks, about these kind of behaviors that are most recently are becoming noticeable right now. And by the way, it speaks of this, AP. There isn't anything out there that they can bring anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the arguments are dried already. I mean, I have a couple of, I assume they're Muslims. They came here while we're talking, and all they can do is just ad hominem, attacking your character, attacking my character. I'm like, well, is this a refutation? I mean, we have a serious topic we're talking about. At least present something. I mean, I welcome you to present something. I mean, there is nothing wrong, by the way, with reasoning. Yeah. Just let us reason. That's why we call it let us reason. I mean, I'm not going to force you to do anything against your will, and you're not going to force me. But let's have a civilized, intellectual behavior for the benefit of our viewers, right? I mean, if I believe in what I believe in, I should really present it to you in a way that makes sense. But how is cursing and eating grapes and doing all that kind of stuff is going to allow the other side somehow to be impressed? I mean, it's just unbelievable.
And the thing is, really, I mean, they often try to justify their behavior and their attitude by saying that we are disrespectful, unreasonable people, we are enemies of Islam and this and that. And in all honesty, they are the people who condemn us day and night. They are the people who say that people like me should be executed and we are filthy animals and all that. Despite all of this, I have evidence that I asked many of them repeatedly. Muhammad Hijab, Ali Dawa, all of them repeatedly, even after they insulted me and dehumanized me and all of us, repeatedly to be peaceful and to come together and try to be reasonable and have proper exchanges. They refused to do that. If they became more reasonable, we could all have reasonable conversations. We are capable of reasonable conversations. We are willing to have reasonable conversations. They are not. Their behavior is the problem. And they should realize that. Everybody should realize that.
Absolutely. Any upcoming debates or anything you would like to announce or at least alert people to?
I currently am in talks with a known Muslim scholar to have a debate on Islam. It's something that I really look forward to. I can't reveal more right now until it's finalized. But I would love to. I will be very excited. I'm very excited about that right now. So if that's going to happen, then that will be nice. Other than that, we'll continue what we are doing. I will make more videos, and we will keep continuing making our work. So thank you so much, Al.
Absolutely. And I'll be inviting you again. And we still need to work out something to bring you to our studios. And we'll make you sit down on David Wood's chair, and get some wisdom, out of that chair. Everybody sits on that chair usually, and things go downhill from there typically.
Yeah. I'm sure that will really make me much wiser. Yeah.
We love you guys. We love him, and I'm really excited about him doing things right now. I've been watching some of the stuff, especially the stuff that he's doing with Robert Spencer. That's brilliant, and I'm hoping things will work out schedule-wise for him to join me next week. And we're going to be, like I said, in March in studio. Would love for you to join us in one of the live streams if your schedule permits. As we finalize the schedule, I'll share all of those with you. And again, even if you pop in for a few minutes, we'll be happy to of course, entertain that.
Of course.
My friend, thank you so much. We continue to pray for you, of course, your family, your kids. And also, we're so thankful that you are doing what you're doing. I mean, and we're praying that you'll be in our team soon, my friend. I mean, again, I have to throw it out there, but the Lord is good. And we are, of course, thankful for all of those who are watching us right now. Please, as I said at the beginning of the show, make sure you spread the word about these shows, share them with others. I personally give you my approval to download my videos and upload them in other channels if that's what it takes for people to be aware of the work that we're doing. I encourage you to subscribe to AP's, of course, channel. We have the moderators did an excellent job giving you the links for that. But by all means, support him, subscribe to his channel. Learn from his videos. At the end of the day, AP is doing an excellent job. He is focused on a topic. And that's what I tell people when AP is here. We're talking about a specific topic that is beneficial, technically speaking, to even our cause. And we both are trying to help Muslims realize that they are not on the right path. And that's my hope, of course, that they will come to Jesus. And thank you, AP, for what you do. And we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for viewing, and stay away from Islam.
Yep, there you go. That's the famous phrase. Thank you, everyone. This is Al Fadi, over and out. Take care. Blessings to you.